All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode here on Issues and Answers with yours truly, Honorable Chief Mrs. Valencia Stovall. Welcome to our next episode of Issues and Answers. And today we're actually celebrating Georgia Single Parent Day in the state of Georgia. I was just sharing on my platform, y'all make sure. Okay. So A Kasan to my Georgia listeners and Odaro to my Nigerian listeners, where it's actually about 9 p.m. Um, over there. And this is our March show for 2025. We're celebrating single parents. It's a new season, and hold on tight for another exciting and memorable episode on Issues and Answers with yours truly. Today is Monday, March the 17th, and we are in Women's Month, giving honor to all the women all around the globe because empowered women empower other women. You're listening for the next hour to WCEG Network. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Log on to WCEGTalkRadio.com. Watch us live on Smart TV, on the Roku cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network. Like us on Facebook, Instagram. Connect with us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and we are also on Threads. Download our free WCEG mobile app, and you can talk to Alexa and just tell them to play WCEG Talk Radio. We're also on 12 podcast distributions. And I must give this disclaimer: the topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not of WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support and make sure you tell a friend. First, I want to start off with a brief moment of silence for those who are no longer with us physically and for those who are not just all right now, whether it's physical or mental. I want to give a special happy birthday memory for my dear friend, High Chief Emmanuel Adeyemo, whose birthday would have been on March the 15th over the weekend. So we all have to make sure we keep the faith and we know that God is in control of everything. I have been back for 1 week today for my second visit to my ancestral homeland in Ogun State, Nigeria, Africa. I had such a relaxing time spending with my husband, Kenny, my new family, and friends. I met some of his elected official friend colleagues, and I must say, y'all, that the culture, of course, is so much different from it is here. And I didn't have any reservations of being judged by my skin color. That was a plus. I didn't have to worry about that. But the other part that I was judged by was my accent, because every time I said something, they said, I don't understand. So I had to keep repeating it or I slow it down. And so I just thought it was laughing. I just laughed about it. And so I did get a chance to visit Olamu Rock, which is one of the historic sites in the city of Abeokuta, which is the capital city of Ogun State. And that word Olamu Rocks means a city that's hid in the rocks. And actually, y'all, it's like when you climb to the top, you're going through a cave. And this is where the Yorubas and Edbas hid in their fight against the Dahome's tribe of Oyo. Everybody remember the Oyo Empire from the Woman King. So that movie, they actually had a big fight, and it led them to Abeokuta, and they hid in the rocks, and that's how they were able to defeat the Oyo Empire. And so Kenny and I climbed over 120 steps to get to the top. So those of you all who visited Stone Mountain and Rock City in Tennessee, it's like that type of view when you get to the top, fresh air and everything. So it was exciting. I didn't think I was gonna make it. If they had told me that I was gonna have to climb 120 steps, I promise you I would have said, that's all right. I'll see y'all the next time. But I was able to go up and come back down with no problem. I was able to see the water mist from the Ogun River that actually runs through 3 states, and it's the main water source for them there. We also visit the Kuti Museum, which is the home of the famous Fela Kuti. For those who are musician fanatics, he was a Nigerian musician and political activist. He is regarded as the principal innovator of Afrobeats, And so some of the Nigerian, and it's a mixture of Nigerian music with combination of West African music, American funk, and jazz. So some of the artists we might know of are like WizKid, Burna Boy, and Davido. All of they got their start from Fela Kuti, and that's the museum we went to visit. But of course, it was up on the renovation, so I didn't get a chance to go all the way in. But I thought it was something unique that on the outside of the museum was an actual statue of his mother and his father. His mother is from Fumalayo Ransom Kuti, who was an anti-colonial feminist. So since this is March is Women's Month, I have a special dedication of this show to her, who was also an educator, a women's suffrage activist for not just Nigeria, but for African women. And she established one of the first preschools in Nigeria. And she was the first woman to drive a car in Abeokuta. So in their capital city, she was the first woman out of all the women to drive a car. And that was about, I guess, in 1935 to 1936. And they actually had a car that was shipped from England. And his father was Israel Ransom Kuti, who was an American minister, an Anglican, not American, y'all, Anglican minister, a school principal, and the first president of the Nigeria Union of Teachers. And his mother also started several women's union, and she did a lot of fighting for the rights of women to be able to be considered with respect when it came down to even the women that were in the market. Like over there, they don't have the stores that we walk in like us, like we have over here. They actually have people on the streets that are in the market. They also have like a marketplace. So the women are the ones, the majority of the people that are occupying those spaces. And during her time, she had to fight to make sure that they weren't overtaxed for the money that they were earning. So she did a lot. She even had some of her passport was revoked because of her fight. She even protested in front of the Alake, which is one of the highest rulers over in that area. So she had women protesting in front of his palace. And so eventually they got what they need to get done. So shout out to Mrs. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, women's activist over in Nigeria. Well, I'm excited. I'm always excited about all my shows, y'all. But my show today is very special because March the 21st is a holiday. How many of y'all knew it was a holiday? I know y'all didn't know it was a holiday for single parents in America. So during oh my goodness, I don't know how I forgot the president's name. My mind running so fast. President Reagan, during his time, he did a proclamation that established March the 21st as Single Parents Day in America. And so I had some wonderful people like Beverly Brewster, Lenora Daniel, and Miss Tom Macbeth that approached me when I was still a legislator and said, we need to have a day specific for Georgia. We know we do it on America on that level, but what about Georgia? So thus was birthed House Resolution 279, which designates March the 21st of every year as Single Parent Day in the state of Georgia. Yay! If I had some hand clapping, y'all, I'd do that. Yay! Thank you, Chris. Thank you. And so it was signed into law by Governor Nathan Deal in May of 2018, which designates that particular day. Now, this will be our 6th annual celebration. So we've been celebrating for 6 years every year about recognizing Single Parents Day. And we will be at the state capitol on Friday, March the 21st from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're going to be taking pictures, meeting with legislators, and networking. So that is free for you all to come. And on Saturday will be our Legacy Builders Recognition and Awards luncheon. But that's a ticketed event, and I think all our tickets are already sold out. So y'all have to catch us next year. But we have 39 nominees to recognize. Among these nominees is one single dad I'm interviewing today as a recipient of the Overcomer Founder Award. His name is Christopher Walls. He's and the other recipient of this award, I give out 2 awards, is Dr. Hazel J. But I chose Christopher because of his unique situation of how he became a single dad. Also, we don't have a lot of single dads who were nominated each year. So anytime we see single dads are nominated, we get excited. And I said we, that means the nomination committee. And he was nominated by my niece, Bianca Banks, who is her dad's, but Chris is her dad's brother. So welcome, Christopher Walls, to Each of the Answers on WCEG Talk Radio. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Excellent. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, so we like to get right into it. What led you to your journey as a single father?
What led me to my journey as a single father? Just honestly, to go all the way back, the start of it is I had an excellent father. I had an excellent dad, so that was the start of my journey. And just seeing how he provided for the family, how he gave a sense of security, a sense of safety, a sense of hope, and a very large sense of love. But most importantly, he gave me that sense of spiritualness, to be connected to Christ, to be connected to the Heavenly Father. So that was an awesome thing as well. So that was like the start. But as far as me being an actual dad, that start took place maybe about 9, 10 years ago with a phone call from my brother. So it started with a phone call.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so with that phone call, how did that one phone call lead to, like, okay, how many children are you now a single dad of?
So I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old.
Okay, okay. Woo, so that the 10-year-old was like a baby.
Yeah, he was 8 months.
Oh wow,
Can you
wow.
imagine that? 8 months taking care of a child by yourself? As a
Ooh.
as a as a man, so that was most definitely was a difficult time, but it was a learning experience. And 10 years later, look at it.
Yeah, hats off to you. Yeah, that had to be challenging. As women, as when I was a single parent raising a child, it was enough. But just thinking about a dad, because a lot of our rules and policies are more geared and centered towards women or mothers raising children than they are for fathers or single dads that are raising their children. And so that comes with a lot of time. They be like, you don't need all of that help. And you say, yes, I
Absolutely.
do. I do.
Yeah, that's
So what are
definitely.
some of those challenges that you are having to overcome, or what and even the happiness that has brought being a single dad into your life?
Okay, so the first part of that question, some of the challenges that I had to overcome, honestly, was the financial struggles, right? And as you spoke, there's a lot of different avenues and resources, more so for single mothers than it is for single dads. So having to juggle limited resources as a single father, having to juggle like limited outlets and therapeutic avenues of being able to trust people, with information and also just receive help. Because naturally, with men, we're viewed as providers. So sometimes just overcoming the issue with pride, having pride built up, not wanting to really ask for help, but also knowing that I needed that help. And the second part of it, the joy of just being a dad, it grew me. It forged a fire inside of me. The evolution to be able to evolve and to be able to grow and expand not only my mind but also my heart. And I know a lot of people don't really speak about the expansion of the heart, but that is something that goes on with children, right? Because we learn to love ourselves first, right? But to expand that love outside of yourself, it's just a phenomenal feeling. So now to be able to love two additional souls, and not just those two, of course, being my sons, adoptive sons at that, but I have a nephew that is currently 19 that I spent a large number of years raising as well. So just to be able to expand that heart and the joy and the love of just being a parent and being a provider, it's just awesome.
Yeah, because I could just imagine, like even with any single parent is juggling work, because you got to be able to provide,
Yes.
provide for them the income and financial part. And then, like you said, being able to take time that's needed to nurture them, because that's very, very important. And then having your own personal,
Right.
life as well, having to kind of try to balance that. So, how do you maintain a balance with your personal life and that of being a single father?
Oh, it took some time. I think even to this day, I'm still balancing and learn to balance as the days and the years go by because it's different balancing when you're 35 comparative, you're 40 or 50, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just learning to balance, I had to have a sense of connection to my Father, to my Creator. You know, having spiritual awareness, having that groundedness to just keep you grounded, but also keep your mind open to learn and to grow, and also just being open to receive information, to receive help, to receive advice, because I truly believe that we're not here to occupy space alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with the assistance and help of others, and just being able to balance out that time, being able to create a system. You know, you have to create systems that works for you and your children, and you may have to restructure those systems over and over. It may change in the month of May. It may be different in the summer, and then of course, you know, it's different in September because school is in. So being able to maintain some type of schedule, and then conversations, being able to conversate with your kids and conversate with yourself. So that allows me to balance out my time when it comes to work, when it comes to being creative as a writer, as an author, as a musician, and also being able to balance out pouring into my children individually, but also collectively. Because not only do I have to balance work and my personal life, but I have to also, on the flip side, balance the life collectively of my children, but also balance their lives individually. You know, what are their aspirations and what are their goals, or what are some of the things that they like. Like one loves sports, one love anime and karate. So being able to balance their dreams, their aspirations, pour into them, pour into myself, and also provide financially. So ultimately, spiritual groundedness is what keeps me balanced in that.
Right. And you know, and that's what it takes, because you know, when you're having to come up with these different challenges, and say your child gets sick, God forbid, but gets sick, and then you have to be at work, or you got a project or something that's a deadline, and you're trying to figure out, and you can't call nobody to do, especially when they're younger, to babysit because everybody else is at work, and so you try to figure out what am I going to do, and then don't think about school. You know, if they're having to be some kind of behavior problem at school, and you have to go up, or you're trying to check on
Absolutely.
grades and making sure that they're getting what they need. And so it's a lot, a lot, a lot. So I continue to commend you for taking on that responsibility, especially of adopted children that, you know, that are not actually yours. You know, a lot of times
Yes.
we cling to our own, but even though they're your own because they're blood relatives, but even with that, you know, that's a lot of
Yeah.
sacrifice. That's a lot of sacrifice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You sure you wasn't walking with me day by day along the way?
No, I just take it from my own experience.
Where they
And
sound very similar, right?
yeah, my own experience of being
Yeah.
a single mother of a boy and a girl, you know. So, and like you said, you balancing one like this, one like that, one he liked music and he played a little sports, but he really liked music. The other one, she didn't like no sports. She didn't like no, I don't know what she liked. So I had to figure that whole part out by itself.
While
So
dealing with
balancing
yourself.
that, yeah, and then like you said, having your own personal life, you want to have adult conversations because you always having children conversations. So you balancing all of that out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what inspired you to become an author?
Just life.
Because that's a
Uh,
lot. So now
that
you're a single parent, and now you've added in, I'm gonna write about this experience, and then actually getting it published. You know,
right.
that's another huge milestone. So how did all of that come about?
Well, just the start of it, honestly, is that I'm a lover of music. So I'm a singer and a songwriter. So
Oh, okay. I
yeah.
left that part out of your introduction. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. But you know, just being a singer and a songwriter, having a passion for words. When I was younger, I just fell in love with Shakespeare. I fell in love with King James version of the Bible. You know, just speech and English and words, etc. And so, just being a writer naturally. For the music side, you know, living this life that I'm currently living as a single father and having these beautiful boys that I'm raising that I feel like was really handed over to me, you know, to see, you know, what are you going to do with them? How are you going to raise them? How are you going to create them as far as their characters? And so taking all that in, and also my life experiences such as grief, right? Losing my dad 2017 to cancer, and losing my older brother in 2019 to sickness in the body. And then 2021, losing my mother. Then losing another brother last year in 2024. So grief and just despair, anger, sadness, happiness, joy, a lot of emotions bottled in. And someone approached me one day and said, you should think about just writing about your life, just for therapy, to be able to write it out, since you're naturally a writer, write it out, read it back to yourself, and see how it sounds to read it as a listener, and see if that'll help you, with therapy. And that was the most amazing advice I could have ever received, because by doing that, starting that journey, writing about my life, and being able to sit down and have conversations with myself to recall memories from way back, and also to be able to call on memories in recent, but to be able to structure those things, those memories, and those experiences in a way that it is tailored to a reader to be able to capture themselves in that story, to pull them in, to want to read it, to make it interesting. But also somehow, what is the goal? The goal is, for me anyway, because it's different for everybody depending on what you're writing, right? Fiction or nonfiction. For me, writing a memoir, writing something that is a true story, for me, the end goal was to bless someone, to take my life experiences, to take my hurt, my pain, my joy, my happiness, and to be able to convey that over to someone else in words, and to put those words on a page, right? In order for them to be able to elevate, and for them to be able to grow and receive some type of assistance or help or guidance from my life, and to be able to pour into theirs.
Wow, that's a lot, and like you said, how therapeutic it was, so it kind of served two folds. One was it helped you through all the pain and even the happiness that you have experienced. And then
Absolutely.
at the same time, someone else who may be going through the same thing. And a lot of times when we're going through situations, we kind of always feel this kind of isolated. I'm the only one going through this. Lord, well, I'm the only one going through it. And then later on, you find out you weren't the only one going through it.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other people, but until you hear someone else's testimony, and that's what your book is, a testimony to
Yes.
others to say, hey, I went through this, and I'm still making it through. You never have a completion, but I'm still making it through. I've gotten over that hurdle, so now that gives me strength to get over the next hurdle. So, hold your book up so they can definitely be able to see it. Okay, faithful fatherhood. Okay, and so where can they find a copy of your book, and how can they reach out to you if someone wants you to come and be able to speak to their church group, of fathers, or the church group of young men, since you're raising both the 10 and the 12-year old, are they both boys or young boys?
Yes, they're both boys, 10-year-old
Okay.
and a 12-year-old. Yes.
Yeah. So, just having to raise them in a society that does not care about other people, that is so selfish, and always thinking about, themselves as far as a society. When we see stuff on TV and all this violence and disrespect. So that in itself is a challenge as a single dad, because you're the only one that has that hand that's on them,
Absolutely.
typically, to make sure that they're doing and making the right decisions, and even choosing their friends, who in turn sometimes influence their behavior as well.
Absolutely.
And so, how can people be able to reach out to you, and if they wanted to purchase the book, and even start following you on social media?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking that. So they can definitely find this book, which is Faithful Fatherhood, written by myself, Christopher Cornelius Walls. They can find it on Amazon.com, and just type Faithful Fatherhood into the search box, looks for this cover, or look for me by name, and they can purchase that book that way. Also, they can reach out to me personally with my email, which is ChristopherCorneliusWalls@gmail.com. And then I have a company email. So I have Faithful Fatherhood, which is the first book. I don't want to go into too much detail about the next book, which is Faithful Motherhood, that will be coming soon, where I have reached out to several mothers to write chapters in that book. But they can find that on faithfulparenthood.com, which is www.faithfulparenthood.com. That is the website, that is the umbrella where I'm taking a faith-based foundation, right? And we're building a community. And they can email me also at community@faithfulparenthood.com. So they can reach out to me that way, to reach out to me as far as bringing me on board for speaking engagements or events or church gatherings, etc. Also to gather information on the book, where to buy the book, and even getting the book signed. So absolutely. And social media, they can find me at Faithful Parenthood. So that's on all platforms, Faithful Parenthood. That is on Instagram, that is Twitter, that is YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook.
Okay,
Faithful
YouTube,
Parenthood.
TikTok. I'm typing it in on here, and Facebook. And what was the last one? You said
What was the last? Yeah, that was the last thing I said, Facebook.
okay, Facebook and TikTok.
And that's for all the that's for the company stuff in the book. But me personally, they can find me on Instagram, and it's at Stovall Official, and that is SIRWALLSOFFICIAL at Stovall Official, and that is my personal Instagram for my artistry, music, the book writings, etc. So.
Okay, I think I got all that, but I was typing in on the comment section on.
Thank you.
I ain't the best at social media, I leave that up to Bianca and Trey them for that part, but I try to do the best I can with that. But I think that when you talk about advice, what would 2 pieces or 2 tips of advice that you would give to other single fathers, even those who just maybe find themselves stepping into the role, or even those who may have been seasoned, kind of been in it a little while, and because of the changing in the times, 10 years ago is not the same as now. Like when the young,
Absolutely.
the young, but the 8-month-old was just born, and now you compare it to now 10 years later, so much has changed in the world. So what are some advice that you could give to single fathers?
So the advice I would honestly give to single fathers is patience. Learn to have patience. Seek out patience. Let patience become your best friend, because through ups and downs, good and bad, patience is going to be something that they're going to need. Also, just finding a community, right? Figuring out what works for them community-wise, and help, assistance, and guidance. Because as single fathers or dads, period, we have this thing that is pride. Pride can set in very quickly, right? Because of this macho-ness and the masculinity. So I will say a huge piece of advice added to that will be find a form of being able to nurture, whether that's nurturing your mind or your child's mind. Deal with them with patience, deal with them with love and carefulness. Don't go straight into any situation. So with myself, any situation I deal with, good and bad, with the boys, I go in it knowing that it's there, then I step back and I have a thought process. What is this situation? What does this situation looks like? What is it going to do with the decision that I make? Is it going to be good or bad? It's going to be good or bad for me. It's going to be good or bad for them. So I always just make sure that I have a conversation with myself, and again, building a community so you can have a conversation with others, because advice is going to be very vital. It's going to be very vital for them to be able and be open to receive advice, because a lot of times, just naturally as humans, whether we're parents or whether we are individuals who are not parents, we have this thing where we want to listen to self, that we think that our own mind and our opinion is more important than what someone else has to say. So just being open to other people, being open to other people's advice, their guidance, and just really just focusing in on not making decisions that will only result to self. It has to go outside of yourself.
Wow. Okay. Y'all heard that. Now I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
put all that into my little like I said, I'm trying to multitask, but I get to it. So main thing you said was seek out patience. Patience is very important. Love.
Yes.
finding a community for support,
Yes,
and having that thought process, whether it's good or bad, what can come out of it for whatever that decision is that's being made.
absolutely.
And also seeking advice and then receiving it. So once you receive it, then you listen to it and then receive it,
Yes,
and kind of taking it out of that you think that you know everything because you don't. And that can go for not just single fathers, just even single mothers as well. And I definitely commend you on doing a compilation of one for women, for mothers that are
absolutely.
mother with your book, because that's also needed. I mean, so much. I just think back, my children now are 31 and 27. I think that's right. They'll correct me. But anyway, um, and I just think back, if I had to raise them now with all of this that's going on,
And this technology,
ooh, and this technology, it was enough when it first was coming out, back then, and even when they were teenagers or preteens, having to control them about that phone. And then, you have so much mental pressure on the kids. And I do have another question. How do you advise your children about dealing with peer pressure and bullying? Because we've seen a lot of that, taking place in our schools, even outside of schools, where it has ended up leading into violence, or someone unfortunately feeling that there's no hope and they end up taking their lives because of bullying or that peer pressure.
well, I'll say this: what you don't know, you can't fix.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing that I always do, and I kind of dealt with that with my sons, at one period of time, kind of dealing with a little small issue, not really big, with
Mm-hmm.
friendships and things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this saying that what you don't know, you can't fix. I preach this. Have a conversation with your kids all the time. Let them feel comfortable enough to talk to you. Sometimes we get so busy and wrapped up with life and work and all these other things. Like you said, how do you find that balance? And sometimes in not finding that balance, we can get so caught up, we start pushing them away because not right now. So what
Mm-hmm.
I learned to do, and it took a lot of practice, it takes practice now, is I never tell them not right now. Wherever they come to me with, now is the time.
Right.
I listen to them. What are they trying to communicate and convey to me? Because as adults, we have this thing where, we'll tell a child, you don't have nerves or we got all this going on you, but we forget that in their little minds and their little bodies, when they go to school, that's their job.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say, oh, the supervisor may be getting on my nerves, or the customers, or I'm dealing with the outside, I'm dealing with clients, etc., their classmates, their teachers, that's their work field.
Mm-hmm.
So they have this thing where they get overwhelmed and they can get frustrated. So how I honestly deal with that is I'm always open to conversation. And not only that, I'm not just open, but I'm proactive. I ask my kids, what is going on in your day? What happened today? What conversation did you have? What did you talk about? And then I allow them to express, how did you feel about that? How did that make you feel? The youngest, he had a situation where um, some of the kids didn't really want to play with him when he wanted to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a conversation. How did that make you feel? What do you think that you're doing to cause that reaction from them? How do you think you can fix this? How do you think you want to try this? So just really being involved. A lot of times when you hear about those things happening, whether it's violence in the schools, right, with kids trying to harm themselves or harm someone else, there's always this side conversation where no one knew what was going on.
Right.
You never hear those things happening, and they say, "Yeah, we knew it. We knew all about it. We knew it was happening. We had the conversations." You don't hear that, so that tells me that there's a gap in communication. There's a gap in talking with your kids. So
Mm-hmm.
I just say this: stay in communication, converse with your kids, allow them to express themselves. And a quick example I can give um, is I was asking my son to do the dishes. And he said he didn't want to do the dishes. He said, why do I have to do the dishes?
Mm-hmm.
And that's this thing I heard when I was growing up saying, because I said so. Because I said so, right? So I
Right.
learned a long time ago, I don't have that because I said so. Why? Because at 10 years old, he may not fully understand why. He really don't want to do it. And why do I have? So I sat him down and explained to him why I felt he needed to do it. Is you're a part of this family. You're part of this unit. We do things collectively. We do things together. We share responsibility. If I gave you a plate with that was not clean and put your food on it, would you eat it? He said, no. I said, how would that make you feel? I would want it to be clean. So once I explained all that to him and say, now how do you feel about it? He said, you know what, Dad? I think I need to do the dishes. So versus me pushing him away, I welcome the conversation. I welcome for him to have an understanding of why. So the biggest thing with that, to go back to your original questions, which is this bullying and all this stuff in school, how do you deal with that? Communication. Yeah. Communication is key. I know that's an old saying, but that is true. Communication is vital. It is important, and it is the key to success. It is the key to knowing your kids and your kids knowing you. Sometimes we grew up and we didn't really know our parents' character outside of they were a parent. They was aggressive or stern, but we didn't know them deep. Like, why do they do what they do? So my kids, I have conversations with them even about the book, things that I went through. So they understand that has some trauma. So dad may deal with things this way because of X, Y, Z versus with my parents, I didn't realize why they were who they were. Not realizing that once you have a conversation, oh, you had trauma. Oh, you had this happen. So just really just talking with your kids, communicating with your kids, and being able to have a conversation to be involved with your kids in their mind, their day, how they're wired, what blesses them, what ticks them off, what makes them happy, what makes them sad. How do they feel when they engage with other people? And then you can talk to them, because sometimes we're so protective of our children, not knowing that it may be our child that is doing something to cause a situation. Right. So not only do I pray against bullies, but I always pray and ask, for my children not to become bullies. Yes. We forget about that and not to be mean and how they react. So if someone's mean to them, well, I did that to them because they did it to me versus just, son, you never know what that child is experiencing at home. They may not have this loving father that you have. They may not have a dad that go out and play football with you and play basketball with you and sit down and have those conversations. How do that make you feel? Knowing that they may not have what you have, that brings you joy. And my son said, that makes me feel sad. So now they approach it with, even if they're being bullied, they approach it initially with compassion. That there may be a trigger, that may be a reaction from that individual because they're experiencing some kind of trauma or some lack of love that's causing them. So then it just wires them to do what initially that I said, which is have a thought process, think, have a conversation, talk about it. Yeah.
You're right, because hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
And you don't, and when you the person that's being hurt, you're not thinking about that the person hurting you when somebody hurt them. You just say, hey, you hurt me. Right. And so that having that understanding and like you said, communication is definitely key.
Yes.
And helping them to understand the why behind it. And like you said, a lot of times when we grew up, it was this because I said so. With these children these days, because I would say it's because of technology, having an opportunity or to have technology where they can put something into the phone or tablet and get another answer. So whereas back when I was growing up, we didn't have that. So whatever our parents said, that was gold. That was key. So you didn't dare say, well, nah, I read it on here that it's like this. But now these children with the little fingers, they'll look up, you say, well, nah, it's blue outside. We're not going to have a storm today, so put this on. I read that they said that we are going to have a storm today, so I should put on this and that. So now you said, so you challenging me by what I said. So, like you said, then they to explain to them that that's a part of being responsible. And as you grow into adulthood, these are some skills that you would take with you into adulthood to make you the fine young man that you're supposed to be, or if you're talking to a younger daughter, the fine young lady that you're supposed to be. So so that's why I said I don't know if I had to raise some children this day and age. I don't know. Y'all might see me with that little sign in front of me holding up like this.
Saying help.
The numbers on there because I'll be put the beat down on. I put the beat down on her. So I got to keep all that in mind. My daughter just had a grandbaby, my first grandbaby.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So she's 1 year old. So I had to, I'm gonna keep that in mind about that patience, and because I know I'd be like, you heard what I said,
Yeah.
so then that's a whole different kind of generation, these children. But I want to thank you so very much, Christopher, for joining us here on Issues and Answers on WCEG and sharing your story about your journey as a single father, how it
Yes.
started,
No,
and
thank
even
you.
your continued journey, and then balancing all of that with your ministry, with your music, and then also with being the author. So and then making sure that your kids that you're raising are balanced, have the be well rounded and balanced, so they can be productive citizens. And we
Absolutely.
congratulate you for being our recipient of the Overcomer Founders Award. It was an award that I started about, this is third year, so 3 years ago, because there were some single parents that I knew personally that had become overcomers with whatever the situation was, and so I said, well, I'm going to designate a special award, and then we have some other awards that we give out as well during that particular time. But I wanted to bring you on because I thought
Thank you.
your story, your testimony was something that could inspire and uplift those who find themselves in situations that they never thought they would be in. As far as having to be a single person raising children. So you all make sure you go out and purchase the book, The Faithful Fatherhood. Make sure you're following Christopher on this in the faithful parenthood. I was in the process of writing all that down, but I think I put it in Faithful Parenthood. Give them that the social media handle again about the Faithful
Yep,
Parenthood.
it's Faithful Parenthood. But also the one for me, the artistry, and just me as an author is going to be at Sir Walls Official. So on there, not only do I, we'll be marketing the book, but very soon enough, I'll be marketing my music and my singing abilities. So
Okay. Now is that official single or official with an S?
official without the S.
Okay, Sir Walls
Yeah.
official. Okay. He got a lot going on, y'all. Whew, but that's good. I thank God for him, and I appreciate it. And you can hang around. I usually go into my segment called Say What, and it be some stuff that you hear that you just like, I can't believe that happening. That's what's happening. So I do that, and then I go into my announcements, and then I'll end out my program. So you're welcome to stay on.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to support.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna say,
I
or if
thank
you
you.
have something you have to do, you could go do that. But you definitely gonna look forward to seeing you at the Capitol on Friday, and then of course at the banquet, the luncheon on Saturday.
Yes.
Okay, y'all. So my special guest was Christopher Walls, who is a single dad and an author, a musician, a writer, songwriter, performer, minister, all of those good things wrapped up into one. So my next segment is Say What. So say what time, this is the part of the show segment when we talk about those things that are usually unimaginable and make you want to shout, say what to the what? So according to Human Times, the Trump administration plans to reduce the IRS workforce by 20% by May the 15th. This will be affecting 18,141 positions, according to a source familiar with the situation. The reduction in force of the RIF includes approximately 12,000 employees who were laid off or accepted deferred resignation offers. Say what to the what? All of these people being laid off, and people are losing their jobs. And it used to be a time where when you worked for the government, whether it was the city government, the state government, or the federal government, that was kind of considered secure jobs. But not up under the Trump administration. Now I'm no more secure. The most secure that you can have is having your own business. But so that's to say what to the what? 18,141 positions. So my next say what is still dealing with this whole employment thing. The judge orders reinstatement of fired workers. So the Trump administration has been ordered to reinstate thousands of probationary workers who were terminated in mass firings across various federal agencies. U.S. District Judge William Alsop in San Francisco said that determinations were executed by a personnel office lacking the authority to do so. So some of y'all have been watching in the news about Doge or something and some other things that's been going on. Whenever certain decisions are made, when it comes down to governmental decisions, some decisions have to be led or made by the elected officials and those that are appointed officially by the elected officials with certain positions. So just like every presidential election, you have a new cabinet, and that cabinet has to be confirmed by the Senate, which is the legislative branch of government. And then once they're confirmed, then that person goes through the process and then is appointed into that position. But they cannot, the president, or in the case when it comes to the governor, cannot just place those people in those positions. They have to be appointed in by that legislative body, which in this case happens to be the Senate. And so that's what gives them authority that even though those people who may be cabinet members are not elected, but because they're appointed by elected officials in that capacity, that gives them the authority to be able to handle personnel issues and all of that. So what the judge was saying was that because that department that executed all of these terminations or firings was not appointed through the process of the legislators appointed, then that would make them having a lack of authority to do so. So all that's going to be interesting watching how everything continues to roll out. Even you continue to hear a lot with the immigration, a lot with comes to tariffs, and as America, we are known for being able to help. We're known for being able to trade with other countries. So it's going to be interesting watching all of this unfold. But that was my say what to the what. So the first was the firing of the IRS workforce, which, it's kind of strange because, this is a time when people are filing their taxes and they want to get their tax rebates back for those who get those tax rebates back. And so if you have a decrease in the number of people that's processing it, I don't know what department it was, and it could have been the temporary people. I don't know. That brings concern. So that's my say what to the what. But I want to make sure I had enough time to shout out all the single parents who are going to be recognized, and those who may not have been nominated, those who used to be single parents but are no longer single parents. Shout out to you. So the 2025 annual recognition for single parents is going to kick off on March the 21st. That's our holiday, single parent holiday in Georgia. I had it's going to be co-hosted by the National Leadership Group, Inc., myself, Georgia Single Parent Coalition, and Georgia Youth Career Center as well. And we have some great legislative partners. So once I decided to retire from being a legislator, I reached out to Representative Schofield and asked her will she help take on, continue the mantle of this single parent, because it's very important, because this particular bill started at the state capitol. We always every year have our celebration kickoff at the state capitol. And so Representative Schofield, and then this year we were able to get two more legislators on board, Representative Regina Lewis Ward and Senator Rashawn Kemp, have joined us in this recognition. And this year, Atlanta Public Schools will actually be recognizing some of their single parents from their school clusters. And so we're going to be at the Capitol on Friday. That's some days from now, on March the 21st, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that is a free event. You're welcome to come out. You don't have to make reservations. You don't have to register to come. Just come on down there and say, hey, I'm looking for the single parent people. And we're going to meet in the Rotunda area, which is the center of the state capitol, on the second floor at 9 a.m. And we're going to take pictures. We're going to go in the gallery of the House and the Senate. And then we're going to have roundtable discussions about what are the challenges of being single parent and what are some great opportunities that you've seen that have come out of you being a single parent. And I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Honorable Larry Johnson, who's a former DeKalb commissioner. He joins us every year. Bethlehem Baptist Church, Mabra Law Firm, AmeriGroup Real Solutions, Autonomy, Redefine Ed, Foundation, National Church Ushers of Georgia, Melodies of the Mind, Real Parents, and we had some legislators that actually sponsored some of their constituents for this two-day event. And so I wanted to shout out Representative Rhonda Bernot, Representative Anissa Jones, Representative Shay Roberts, Representative Robert Flournoy, Representative Sandra Scott, Representative Rhonda Taylor, Representative Terry Cummins. And some of our vendors want to thank them. They'll be there at Banquet, Love and Fragrances, Carnation Creations, Doris Thomas, Lenora Daniel. It's bond time. Oh, them good cinnamon. And Love and Fragrances have some nice scented candles. Celestial Hair Innovations by Celeste Talbert, Healing Hills, LLC, Kings and Queens Wonderland, and Christopher Walls, my special guest. He's also going to have be a vendor there, being able to promote his book, he had Faithful Motherhood. You can join our email list if you're a single parent and you want to know how to get more involved. We're going to have workshops coming up that we're doing. And so you can follow us on Facebook, The National Leadership Group, Inc. The National Leadership Group, Inc. And each year it gets better and better. And so I want to take this time, my few minutes I have left, to shout out to our single parent awardees and honorees. But first, we cannot do it without our planning committee. These are individuals year round that work year round. They're all volunteers who make sure that we're able to put on this two-day event and do things throughout the year for our single parents. So Beverly Brewster is our president of the National Leadership Group and the co-founder of the Single Parent Day in Georgia. Lenora Daniel is the vice president of National Leadership Group, and one of our co-founders, we have Walter Fletcher, Miss Tom Macbeth, which is another co-founder, and she's the founder of Real Parents. Mrs. Annette Bowman, she gonna get me. I always say Annette. Angela Lindsay, Doris Thomas, Cleve Porter, Lori Wallace, Dr. LaWanda Falami, Tiffany Bacon, Minnie Marie Andrews, myself, Dr. Deborah Pruitt, Cynthia Thomas, and Lurie Ellis. So those are our planning committee members. Let's get them a round of applause. Yeah, it takes a lot putting this event together every year. And now, drum roll for our awardees. And these are individuals who are being recognized for doing an outstanding job with raising their children, and they actually were in different categories. So they was Tiffany Bacon, April Bayless, Latasha Frazier, Jyshawn Harold Sr., or Jyshawn, Shayla Lawrence, Dr. Eddie Gordon, Shalandra Gurley. So shout out to them. And then we have some special awards. Ruth Brewster Endurance Award. Rima Davis is the recipient of that. The Historian Award. This is a new award that we just started this year. Dr. Melody Kelly. She is a city council person in Sandy Springs. And the historical part about her was that she was the first person to earn a doctorate degree in one of the colleges. So that's historic, and even the first Black city council person in Sandy Springs, if I'm not mistaken. And so we want to congratulate her for her Historian Award. And the Overcomer Founders Award, Dr. Hazel J. and Christopher Walls, who you got a chance to meet earlier. Now, we have some special single parents that were nominated that we call our honorees. And all the ones whose names I just mentioned and those I'm about to mention will be honored on Friday and on Saturday. So Rhonda Williams, and these are not in no particular order. Rhonda Williams, Tanya Dean, Hector Persado, Roshanga Peoples, Kimberly Wetzel, Laura Llewellyn, Raven Jefferson, Mahogany Smith, Shamira Hall, Sabria Reese, Gabriel Robinson, Katie Bagosi, Bernard Spear, Brittany Tompkins, Kayla Watkins, Mildred Johnson, Leslie Epps Bodrick, David Rowland, Taylor Brodnax, Adrian Lockett, Jewel Flint, Nancy Barana, Dominique Lighton, Brittany Scott, Janetta Davis, Yesenia Sanchez, April Jean Gray, and Geraldine Stroud Townsend. So we have 39 people that we are recognizing this year. And those 39 represented about 21 cities across this state. And we're just excited about the participation. And you might want to know, well, how can I want to nominate myself, or I know someone who deserves to be nominated. Well, every year, the National Leadership Group and our planning committee, Georgia Single Parent Coalition, we open up nominations each year in October. So you can start nominating in October. We do the selection by December, so we can let everybody know who's been appointed, who's been awarded. But listen now, everybody that's usually nominated do receive a certificate. And so, because we feel that you took the time to recognize someone, of course, you got to tell us why they're deserving. Besides, we know they're single parents, but what is it about that person that made them stand out that you or yourself want to nominate yourself, or you nominated someone else for this deserving award? And so we want to grow it bigger. We want it to be where our companies recognizing their single parent, that they may select the single parent of the year and invite them to the banquet, the luncheon, where our schools, each school has single parents that they designate each year to come. Our cities, it'd be great if the cities had single parent of the year award. Our counties, single parent of the year award. So we want to grow it because we believe that when a person becomes a single parent, sometimes it's not by choice. Sometimes it's by choice, but a lot of times it's not by choice. It's circumstances that happen that you find yourself in, that you now have to take the mantle of not being able to do two parenting in the household, but now you have to be a solo parent in the household. It's not easy, but it is rewarding when you able to see your children grow into productive citizens, and they're not being a menace to society. And so those are the rewards that you get, but it takes a support system in order to be able to raise your children in a good environment. And so you heard Mr. Walls talk about being able to reach out and get that support system, not being afraid to ask for advice, finding a community of support, and having a thought process of any decision that you're going to make, because not only does it affect you, but that decision also affects your children, your children that you're raising. Have patience and have love. And so I want to end my show on that note, but we're excited for our Georgia single parent. You have a day, just like we have Mother's Day and Father's Day. We have Georgia Single Parent Day, March the 21st. So if you all are not busy, you can come down to the Capitol for, even if it's just a little while, make sure you come and find me and say, hey, I'm down here for Single Parent Day, and I want to help celebrate this day for Single Parent Day. But guess what, y'all? Time has caught us. All good things must come to an end. We will be back on Monday, April the 7th at 4 p.m. for a brand new show, new thoughts, new ideas. And of course, I'll be talking about the wrap up from what happened for the 21st and the 22nd for Single Parents Celebration. The goals of Issues and Answers with Honorable Stovall, yours truly, is to educate you on those things you might not think about unless you're in a situation to be concerned. And guess what? Those single parents, y'all in a situation to be concerned. So happy Single Parents Day in advance. March the 21st is our day that we're going to celebrate being single parents here in the state of Georgia and across America, but specifically House Resolution 279 says Georgia. All right, y'all, have a good evening. Stay blessed, stay safe, and until we see each other again on April the 7th, we'll be back again.